There is a phrase that's worth remembering. It says, sound moves consciousness. Sometimes we kind of feel stuck in a certain place and we don't know how to move out of that situation, or just meant at a mental level, how do we redirect this consciousness? And even though we know, we read all kinds of books and we know that we should be free of anger, or we should be, free of any kind of anxieties or worries, but we find ourselves feeling very helpless in the face of those patterns of thinking and feeling that we have cultivated over countless lifetimes. So how do we make a shift in that? So it is described in the ancient books that that sound has the power to move consciousness, because consciousness is very subtle, and so none of the gross elements can actually change it. So fire cannot touch it, water cannot touch it, earth cannot touch it. But sound, on the other hand, can actually move it and redirect it, and that's why the entire process of bhakti yoga is really the yoga of sound. And so to the extent that we can actually develop or even marry our mind to the sound. It's a marriage of our mind with the sound vibration. The more we do that, the more we will see that our consciousness will actually shift. So with that, I will open up the verse that we are supposed to be discussing today, and then we will try to discuss it. Let's see. Okay. Just a little bit slower than Loka. So this is the verse, a very, very famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, which we are on, 41st verse. So I'm not going to be too focused because this is not my forte, but I'll try maybe just to recite the verse. It's a slightly more difficult verse. The words are slightly more difficult. Vyavasatmika. Vyavasatmika buddhir eke he kurunandana. Bahushakha hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasainam. So this is a verse, and the word vyavasatmika is a very important word in this particular verse, which means resolute, determined, resolute. And then the word that is in opposition to that is bahushakha. Bahushakha means having many, many branches. So the translation of this verse is, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So just like yesterday, we were hearing about Arjuna and the famous test that their teacher gave all of the brothers before they actually picked up the bow and arrow, and they were supposed to shoot the eye of a bird, and everyone else. So the teacher kept asking everyone, so what do you see? And they saw so many things surrounding the bird. So they would say, I see the trees, I see the leaves. And he said, don't worry about it, you don't need to shoot. And Arjuna, on the other hand, he said, I don't see anything else. I only see, the eye of the bird. And so then the teacher said, yes, you are in a good place where you can actually shoot the arrow. And Arjuna did that, and of course it was right on target. So in the same way, the process of yoga means the single-minded attention, the single-minded focus. And in the more mechanical forms of yoga, that attention is sometimes directed towards the tip of the nose or some object. In Bhakti tradition, that focus is on the sound or the names of Krishna. And sometimes people even wonder why you're just focusing on one mantra and we're not introducing, there's so many mantras in the Vedic tradition. Again, the reason for that is so that we can cultivate this sort of single-minded connection, this one-pointed focus and one-pointed attention. That concentration is actually very powerful. In fact, it is so powerful that it is described that attention is the beginning of love. So when we start giving our attention, because that's the most valuable thing we have. This body is going to go down, and we really don't own our body or our mind. This is something that's been given to us as a gift. But what we do have, which is really exclusively ours and ours alone, and something that is so sacred that even the Supreme Divine Person does not interfere with that. He allows us that complete freedom to place that thing that is ours alone wherever we want. And that particular thing that is ours alone and that we have a freedom to choose where we want to place it is our attention. And that is a very sacred thing, where we place our attention. In fact, in English, we use the word faith. In Sanskrit, sometimes in translation, the meaning gets lost. And this happens a lot with, when things get translated from Sanskrit to English. But the word for faith, which does not really convey the essential meaning of that word that is supposed to indicate, it's called Shraddha. Shraddha. And the word Shraddha means that where we place our attention. Where are we placing our attention? And right now, we are sort of divided souls. We are divided because our attention is, is all over. We are trying to bring this attention to one place, but we are getting dragged and our desires are divided. So we are divided at the level of the body, at the level of the mind, and at the level of the heart. And hence we have this dissonance. So while we are saying the mantra, our mind is thinking something else. And even if we can somehow bring the mind to it, our heart is desiring something else. And that's the reason why we are in this perpetual sort of like tug of war going on within ourselves, and we don't experience the peace that we're looking for. By the process of cultivation of this sound, our focus on the sound, we will become undivided again. We will become single-pointed. And that is what this verse is indicating, the single-minded attention. And as we cultivate this practice more and more, we will find that all our desires will sort of converge on this one point. Our thoughts will converge in one point, and it won't be an effort for us anymore. It will just be the most natural thing. There's a very beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam where this queen, who's the mother of Arjuna, by the way, she offers these very, very beautiful prayers. And in one of the prayers, she says, "May my attention, rush towards you, just like the river Ganges rushes towards the ocean, uninterrupted, unhindered." So that is the level of spontaneous bhakti, where as soon as we think of Krishna, when we hear of Krishna, our entire being becomes completely united, or we experience this union of love. So, spoken enough. It's 6:10. It's a very beautiful verse. A verse that also, incidentally inspired our teacher, Prabhupada, to take this great voyage from India to America, because it was the desire of all the previous teachers that this beautiful treasure of bhakti that was actually locked up in India, and it was not accessible to any common person, but was really sort of trapped in the ivory towers of, aristocratic brahmanas who thought that this was not supposed to be shared with anyone. And Prabhupada sort of, understood that this was our tradition, where this knowledge was something everybody was looking for. And so he took this voyage based on the inspiration of this particular verse. And we'll talk more about his voyage, because it is, again, very inspiring when we hear about those and associate with those that have actually experienced this deep connection with bhakti. So at some point we'll do that. But yeah, we can maybe bring our attention. We obviously have spent a whole day. It's evening time for so many of you. So we've gone through the whole day, and our attention has been, distributed in so many different places. So let's take a deep breath. Let's center ourselves, and we can gently allow the mind to bring itself to a place where we are ready to enter into the sound, and allow the mind to actually marry the sound vibration, which can deeply satisfy the self. This is what the Bhakti teachers teach us, that It is by coming in contact with the sound and really calling out in great longing that one can be completely satisfied. So let's try and chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare If anyone has any reflections or comments they would like to share, can do that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I hear people pronounce the R differently in Hari, like more of a little bit of a roll, like where their tongue's high up in the roof of their mouth, another that's more of a hard R. And so I was wondering, is there a difference, like a proper way, or is either way okay?
In either way should be okay. It's Hare. Hare, yeah, it's good. Krishna and Rama. So, yes, it's fine. I think Hare, yeah.
Because I hear Hare or Hare, Hare Krishna, or Hare Krishna, Hare, where it's a little bit of a softer R, where the tongue's
After
more, yeah, your tongue's a little bit more on the top of the roof of your mouth versus like a R in the, more
I
in the
get
back.
it, yeah. I think both are okay, right? What is the correct? Hare. Yeah, Hare is better.
Hare is better. Hare.
Yeah, yeah. There's no
Thank
loss.
you. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, Hare is good.
I have a question. This is Manish.
Yes.
This is the first time I'm joining the meditation, the mantra class. And usually the other meditation which I practice usually is a slower chant, and usually it's with Om or Aum. And it's not a chant, it's what we call Ucharan, as in like a slow roll. And then there is a significance of like how you take the breath, and with the leaving of the breath, you actually chant the Om, starting from the navel to the lungs to the mind. Why is this chant different? And one of the benefits which I realize, because I'm a beginner, with Om, my mind deviates because it's a slow process and I have time to think, and I get distracted. But with the chant, because I'm constantly chanting, there is less distraction of my mind. So I'm able to pay attention to the wordings. But then again, I'm just chanting. And
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's amazing that you picked on that, because whenever people ask us why this sort of like swift chanting, this is exactly what the answer is, that because when we do the slow chant, then the mind, because the mind, Krishna, Arjuna speaks about the mind in the Bhagavad Gita, and he complains to Krishna. He says, the system of yoga that you have just described to me, which is this sort of mechanical system, he says, it's very difficult. And, and he finally says, it's actually impractical and I cannot do it. It's impossible. He says, I can control the raging wind, but I cannot control this restless mind. And so let's step back and look at Arjuna. Who is Arjuna? He's the guy who couldn't see anything else other than the eye of the bird. So he obviously did not suffer from any kind of attention, problems. Like he had sufficient attention, and yet he could not do it. So this mantra is chanted at this pace because I don't know if you attended our session on the yoga of sound. So this sound sort of, yeah, it kind of just, we have sound at so many different levels. So like what you're saying, even though we are saying Om with our mouth, which is just one level of sound, there is sound at the level of the mind and the intelligence and our desires. So this Hare Krishna mantra, what it does, it sort of bypasses and sort of, just completely transforms all of those different sounds at the level of all those deeper levels. And so, sometimes people talk about silence. So even though in Maha Mantra we are chanting and it seems like we are vibrating a sound, but this sound is considered to be the supreme silence. So it is sound that will actually help us enter into this realm of complete union, complete peace, and ultimately, the mind and the intelligence and our heart, everything will catch up to this sound. And so we are in other forms of yoga, like the one that you're describing, because it is more mechanical, and we'll talk more about this in our subsequent sessions, it's more based on our endeavor. In this chanting process, we are actually being carried. So the example that is given is that in like sometimes if you're from India, right, that like you see sometimes in holy, like Vrindavan, for example, you see birds, monkeys. Well, let's go to the cat. No, sorry. Let's go to the monkey first. So the monkey, the baby monkey, when the mother monkey is jumping from one place to the other, the baby monkey has to hold on very tight to the mother monkey, and it's completely holding on to the mother monkey on its own strength. And if the baby monkey lets go, then the baby monkey is going to fall off. Contrast this to how a kitten is carried by a cat. The kitten is literally carried in the mouth of the mother and doesn't have to make that much endeavor, right? It's just sort of, there is a sense of being carried. So it's the same thing that in mechanical forms of yoga, it's based more on our endeavor. In this process of chanting and bhakti, of course, our endeavor is there, but it is much less in comparison to the fact that we're actually being carried by this divine grace. I don't know if that helps, Mahesh, at all, but I was really impressed by, your perceptiveness that what is the difference between the two.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question too. Oh,
Yes.
oh,
This
okay.
is, yeah, Sarah, go ahead, and then Reginald, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
No. So I use these beads because I can't really, when we start chanting, I can't really hear you. And so I've been using these beads because this is what I use when I chant, when I go on my walks. And when I chant with the class like this, I notice you finish and I still have so much left. And I don't know whether to keep going or stop because everybody else has stopped. I don't know how I didn't keep up with you. Like, I feel like I'm chanting so fast, but then I've got like.
Okay. So
No,
what we can
you are
do
right.
is,
Even I had a lot remaining, so I continued on.
okay,
like,
so maybe what we can do is we can, if someone can just let me know, I can give another couple of minutes and then,
okay.
take your time and just finish it and then we will
okay.
stop. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. That definitely is very useful. So I just have to know, somebody has to just give me an indication. I don't know how we would know that we are all in sync.
Yeah, I was just curious because it's happened a few times. Like the first couple of times I was pretty much right on, but yeah, now it seems like I always have like some left.
Few remaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can also finish it after the class if you want, but yeah, we can also
yeah.
give extra time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Reginald, go ahead.
Yeah, so back on the topic of pronunciation, so I've heard Rama's name 3 different ways. Sometimes in Kirtan it's Ramo, and then when I listen to Prabhupada chant, it's just Ram. So
What's the correct?
yeah.
Yeah, so Ramo is not. Ramo is it's not. It's something that Prabhupada actually talked about, that's not correct. But Rama, the original Sanskrit is Rama. Rama. So it's not Ramo, it's also not Ram, it's Rama. So we put a little emphasis at the end. It's Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's not Ram Ram, it's Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay. Yeah, because I know in Sanskrit the A gets dropped off a lot. So I didn't think the Ramo was right, but I've noticed it in a lot of Kirtan songs.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you.
I have a question.
Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, so is it okay to sing the chant? Usually when I'm chanting, I feel like I want to turn it into a melody, and that's what I've been doing. And it brings me a lot of joy, but I don't know if that's correct or.
You guys are amazing. You guys are totally amazing. Like that's actually, and this is something we unfortunately, I still haven't figured out how to do it. But there are two parts to this whole meditation process. One is what we do, which is japa, where we are reciting or chanting. The other is called kirtan. I think somebody just posted, Rebecca just posted. So kirtan is we take the same mantra and we just sing. And you can sing all day. You can sing while cooking. You can sing while driving. You can sing, and they're beautiful kirtan melodies. In fact, maybe we can share some of the melodies, and you can sing, and you can just keep playing this kirtan, this mantra, when you're in your house or wherever you are. And I do the same, like sometimes when I'm chanting alone, and I tend to have the sing-song way of doing my mantra meditation. Like it's almost like, even though I'm chanting, but there is some kind of melody to it, right? And it just kind of makes me very happy. And so you can do that.
Okay.
Just, I think the idea is that don't get too slowed down because of that, because just maintaining the time is important. But yeah, you can definitely do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, kirtan is beautiful. Kirtan is very wonderful. Anybody else? Delia, do you have any thoughts?
I have a reflection.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
So today I was thinking about focus because during my morning japa, I feel like I have two choices in front of me right now regarding my profession. And so I was like, okay, Krish, let's look at my options and like what I would like to be guided to make this decision. And so then I was seeing how during the chanting, I was seeing how unfocused I am. And I noticed that in the past, when I put my focus on something, I'm really good at like going forward like a bull, but right now my focus all over the place. And so then I find it very timely that you're saying this. So I'm sitting with my question and the guidance that I'm asking for. And I also want to add that, how life works. There's this podcast that I listen to of a scientist called Andrew Huberman, and he talks about neuroplasticity. And today he starts like talking about focus and all that happens in the brain regarding focus. So if you guys are interested, I could post it on our group, because I think it would be nice to have like the science part of it and the spiritual part of it. So
yes, absolutely. Please do.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I is there
Go
still
ahead.
time for me to share a reflection? Or
Yes, go ahead.
I've been also thinking about focus these past few days and how our mind goes to like what's in front of us, either like physically, like literally in terms of our vision, but just like what's on the screen of our minds. And I just think that like the mantra and the spiritual practices and everything else that we do is just putting Krishna in front of us again and again and again, and then gradually our focus shifts. And I remember also like there was I started watching the Hamilton musical that was really popular, and I liked it, so I listened to it like day and night for like a week. And the melody would just come into my mind on its own, even when I was doing something else, even kind of subconsciously. And then there was another week when I was listening to kirtan. And again, I just like again and again and again, just like on repeat. And then the same thing happened, but with, Hare Krishna, with a Maha Mantra, like in my mind and in my ears. And I just think it's like these things penetrate into us so subconsciously sometimes. So it's just really good to keep like finding ways to put Krishna in front of us.
Yeah, it's bringing the mind back again, and it just becomes, and here is the thing, that because Krishna literally means the all attractive, the most attractive person. So when we allow ourselves to be in that presence, he attracts our heart, he charms our heart, he steals our heart. So, once the heart is conquered, all the other senses, they follow. The heart is the main center of our being. So that's why bhakti is all about the heart. We want our heart. I was just thinking this morning, I was like, I have to, somehow if my heart can become so, because Krishna is also known as a butter thief. So one of our teachers, he always says that if we can make our heart as soft as butter, Krishna will come and steal it. So we want our hearts to be stolen like that. And then yoga and meditation will just be like, it's very interesting. I'm kind of giving you guys a little bit of more like, into the deep end. But there is a beautiful section in the Bhagavatam where, there is this person who's very much in the head, like he has like a lot of knowledge, and he goes and speaks to these cowherd damsels who are madly in love with Krishna, and they cannot they're just like mad, intoxicated. And so he goes and he tries to give them like some knowledge that, he is this all pervading, absolute, this, that, and you can just meditate on him. and they sort of deride him because they're like, we want to get him out of our head. We don't want to be like so, so so it's a whole other paradigm that our heart, when it is captured in that way, then meditation and liberation and all of the other things that we may have some aspiration for, they just follow from that. That's why so much focus. So thank you all. You guys are incredible. I mean, it's amazing. Every day I just get amazed by your questions and your sincerity. And so we'll continue on with this tomorrow. And thank you everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Really.
Hare Krishna.
And see if we can find some nice kirtans, and we'll post it in our classroom.